Hello, this is Mike Lively, and this is the briefing that I did with Kevin Corcoran at the 16th Annual Sloan Consortium. And this is going to be somewhat of a sad briefing for me, and it was painful for me putting it together. I actually didn't go up for the conference. Me and Kevin worked a lot on the briefing together, and then at the last moment, I had some work things come up, so Kevin went and gave the presentation. So my spin and take on this is going to be a lot different than Kevin's. I'm sure that Kevin's was a lot more entertaining than mine is going to be, but this is more of the reality because he was in a sense, the visionary, and I was the technical guy, and the ID that actually built the organization, and then at the end, watch it all fall apart like a house of cards. So this is the little book that we put together as a presentation. It's kind of unique. You can actually kind of just peel the pages over. And this is Enhancing Online Education, and it takes a campus and more. And, of course, this was done by yours truly, Kevin Corcoran and Mike Lively. There you have it right there. So this was a lesson in organizational change. And this actually applies to more than just universities, but definitely if you want to change an organization, there were a lot of lessons learned here by me and Kevin and mistakes made, but the end of this organization was not necessarily part of our fault. This was the economy-driven catastrophe. And I ended up unemployed for a year back in graduate school at UCF, and then I'm back fully employed in the market again in a different place in the economy in the world. So just a few things here. Here's Kevin, just a really nice guy, probably one of the most inspirational people I've ever worked for. It was his brainchild. And at that time, about 4 years ago, NKU was busting at the seams. Didn't seem to have a financial problem in the world, very stable economically, and was interested in change. I mean, it pretty much had a mindset that it started in the 60s, and many of the same instructors were there, and it wanted to, in a sense, change or stir things up, especially in the area of distance learning and online education. So Kevin brought me over from the University of Cincinnati. I was the manager of instructional design there, and I became director of instructional design. And I began the process of actually building groups and having lots of fun as I did that. Now, one of the things we always love to do with Kevin is that we love to steal his photograph, and have some students put it on a little 3D image and have it dance around and use iClone to have it do all types of crazy things, lip sync it to say, talk like Homer Simpson and things like that. It was just a lot of fun, so we didn't throw out the fun with the multimedia. Probably while I was there, we probably worked on maybe over 200 courses and course pieces that went out. Very productive group. And there were a lot of lessons from my standpoint of actually building an organization, a multimedia organization, in a sense a high output multimedia organization. In the presentation, we looked at a number of things: concept of change, cybernetics, Kuhn, obstacles, instructional design, budget, and all those sad lessons. Well, it's said if Galileo would recognize anything, it's our educational institutions, which have not changed much. But technology, indeed, is actually causing us to make changes. And education, in a sense, is actually being tunneled under. What was once true is no longer true in education. When I was in school, knowledge was so valuable. And even growing up doing multimedia, some instructors were concerned about their knowledge getting out. And now actually knowledge is not that valuable anymore. It's actually interaction that's valuable. It's the programming side of packaging knowledge where you're bringing in your student customers. Now, this whole concept of cybernetics is with the old Weakland and Fish. And basically, the whole idea here is that organizations really enter into what's called first-order change, where they really don't change at all. And this is a big lesson to learn when coming into an organization. You really want to become a member of this group. You want to, in a sense, befriend this group and not fight with this group because they'll pair off against you. And initially entering an organization, there's much more of them than there are of you. So what you want to do is use Gandhi's principle of nonviolent conflict, where you actually make friends with people, and the whole idea is not to turn them into enemies, but in a sense to convert them. And that's kind of where we went wrong with NKU. In a sense, we did make right off the bat say, no way, we're going to do it our way or the highway, and we started making significant changes. But in that process, I think we actually alienated some of these people, which was a mistake. And they are back at where they are 3 years ago, doing traditional PowerPoints and classroom stuff, which they call multimedia, which is not penetrating today's educational market. So there's second order change, which we really went for. We're incorporating blogs and social media and viral advertising and networking and marketing all into that internet piece where we could talk to our students and we could actually, I don't want to use the word market them, that's a bad word in education, but it's just reach them on, in a sense, a collaborative level. And so here's a little video that we showed where we got these guys going up an escalator. The escalator unexpectedly stops, And they don't know what to do.
Need this. I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out there?
Do you have a phone?
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello? There are two people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, there's not enough left to do, is there?
And so that's really what happens when people are internalized. They're not bringing in outside sources to help them move forward. They just don't know what to do, and they can become very resistant if you come in there with the wrong attitude. So just remember, God needs nonviolent combat. That's what you need to use. So, and if we could go back and do that, and if that's where I want to stay, then I would indeed actually have made more friends of that organization as opposed to enemies. But it's threatening when you bring in new ideas. So the next topic would be Kuhn's scientific revolution. The whole idea is anomaly challenge paradigm, and this actually happened to me at the University of Cincinnati. They had some really expensive equipment, and I'd come up with a way to actually replace this equipment by about $50 a piece, a unit, and that really met with sharp criticism from one of my superiors. And I didn't understand that. I thought, I'm going to save you all this money. But once again, you don't realize that an organization may actually be using that in a sense as a way to guide in more funds for more projects, and that's the established paradigm. And so when you bring that and you challenge it, say, I can replace your $250,000 by about $300 worth of webcams and tracking systems, that really drives them crazy. So you need to approach this gingerly, and you need to get people on your side and not make them your enemies, but make them your friends. And so one of the things we did at NKU, of course, was to start the faculty learning communities. In addition, we had a supporting student group of designers that actually built content for the faculty, and everyone came up to speed pretty rapidly. The group we had built was very efficient and was moving along very rapidly. I'm going to talk about that and some of the principles behind actually creating a very efficient group. Of course, some of the obstacles to change within an organization, of course, is a traditional faculty development center. And so you've got to do something different. And people going, are you repeating what they're doing? No, we're doing something different. And you make that differentiation, but that organization can become a tremendous stumbling block, especially if they feel challenged. Of course, there's budget issues, and now with the economy just evaporating, there's more budget issues than ever. Faculty issues, still faculty's not wanting to use technology, faculty not wanting to change. And I tell you what, you can go stand in the bread line with the rest of them. If you're not ready to adopt technology or change, I'm totally just non-friendly anymore to people who say, I'm not going to use a computer in the classroom, I'm not going to use technology, because you know what, your students are. And that's one of the another stumbling block with students, is you need to address technology that they're used to using. I mean, use the Facebook, use the Twitter, use the instruments that they have in their hands. And that's why I've also was so much pushing the university to go mobile with a lot of its education, and that's one of the things I was getting ready to do, is create mobile courses. But once again, the university, when it hit this budget crunch, began cutting anything it considered to be peripherous. Kevin put out a lot of, for instance, levers or mover of change. Here was interdisciplinary programs for faculty. Here's some of my students and some of the things that students were doing. Another lever of change for students were actually student design content. So many of the courses would be initially architected by, then I put student designers on it.